Hi, and welcome to Ask Lois, the Relatable Therapist. My name is Lois Godot. Thank you so much for joining me today. This YouTube channel focuses on providing valuable tips and strategies to promote positive family dynamics. And I do this through reality TV. I can get my inspiration from real life events or anything that I think that will help me to encourage positive family dynamics. And so we've been talking about love, marriage, and Huntsville. And so I just really want to continue that, and I want to focus today on Wanda. We've all seen Wanda. She's a mess. She's funny at times, but she really is a mess. And so, we all want the best for our kids. And we all strive to want the best for our kids. It's natural to want the best for our kids. Wanda reminds me of the helicopter mom. When I was teaching in school, we had those helicopter moms that would always be hovering over their kids, making sure they did everything right, involved in their sports. And because I taught high school special education, they would be involved in their sports. They would be calling up, they would be coming to the events. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at some point, it gets to be a little too much. It gets to be too much and they start going a little bit too far. And that's what we see with Wanda, is that she takes things way too far, just way too far. Before I go any further, I want to do the Fair Use Act of 1976. This video is protected by the Fair Use Act. Under Section 107, its allowances is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. So let me go ahead and put Wanda's picture up here. So that's Wanda and her daughter, Tisha, Letitia Scott. And she's one of the people that's in the Love, Marriage, Huntsville series. And Wanda, she's a character. She's a character because, like I said, she reminds me of a helicopter mom, and she wants the very best for her daughter. And she's constantly saying, she's going to protect her. She's going to make sure no one's hurting her. And so as I was watching her, I got to thinking, she reminds me of a parent that has a middle schooler or a high schooler, that they feel that they have to keep protecting them, that everybody's out to hurt them. And it gives you the indication that she feels like Letitia can't take care of herself. She's a grown woman. She's married. She has 4 kids. Or does she have 3 kids? I think she has 3 kids. And she's a grown woman and she acts like she can't take care of herself, that she has to constantly be involved in her life. And she reminds me of an enmeshed parent, someone that is so involved in their child's life that the boundaries are blurred or they're non-existent, and it's unhealthy family patterns, and it's like a dysfunctional relationship pattern. That's what she reminds me of. And a lot of times when you have an enmeshment in a relationship, it can spill over into the romantic part of the relationship, and it could also spill over into the friendships. And we see that a lot in this series, that with Wanda, her enmeshment in Tisha's life, it spills over into her friendship. I mean, as the series went on, I mean, she had issues with Kimmy, who was one of the fan favorites, and she's very easygoing. So, but she found a way to have a problem with her. Of course, she had a problem with Martell and with Melody and with Marceau, and she just continues. And even with Melody's mother, she continues to have issues with people in the series, and she all goes under the umbrella of I'm protecting my daughter. So if anybody says anything negative to Letitia, she jumps right in and she comes in with a barrage of insults and just words. And so for a while it was like, okay, that's kind of funny what she's doing, even though we know this she got some issues here. But it all came to a head when in season 5, when she wanted to fight. And see, I've been watching the replay. So I had, one of the advantages of the replay is that you can fast forward. And so even though I was on just episode 3, I kind of wanted to fast forward and see, what is this woman doing? Because I'm like, at some point, her daughter's going to have to reel her in because she's going to get out of hand. And we saw in episode 5 where she really did get out of hand. I mean, she wanted to physically fight. And this is where it got kind of weird for me, because first it kept being like, I'm protecting my daughter. And she would post on social media. If someone said something about Letitia, she'd get back at them on social media if she didn't say things in their face. But then it kind of turned when she was saying something about Melody, and Melody said something about, her daughter, Letitia's father. And then she said something about Melody's daughter. And then it just escalated. And so then she started saying she was protecting herself. And I didn't quite understand how she was protecting herself when she was bantering back and forth, but she said she was protecting herself. And it even got to the place where she was trying to drag Melody. She wanted to fight her. And that's when it got too much. It's one thing just to be arguing and, saying some things, but when you decide that you want to physically put your hands on someone, it has went too far. And so as I was, watching her, go too far with wanting to fight, I sat back and I thought about what could Letitia have done? Because throughout the season, people would say, your mom, she's just out of hand, she's getting out of pocket, you need to say something to her. And she would always say, well, I really can't tell my mother anything. And at some point that becomes an excuse. That becomes an excuse that I can't tell her anything. True, you can't tell her anything, but you can show her something. When they invited her to Kimmy's son graduation, when they were outdoors, I mean, she started a fight and she just messed it up. And every time she would go somewhere, she's arguing with people, and they were like, stop inviting her. But I think the issue was not so much that Letitia felt that she couldn't tell her mother anything, but I think she felt bad. I think she felt embarrassed that she would actually had to go there with her mother because she would always protect her mom. And even when she was at the after the whole incident with Melody, when she was at the table, the comeback group, and they were at the table, and they were saying, something needs to be done. And she's like, well, Mel, yeah, my mother, she shouldn't have said that, but you did. And it's always a disclaimer, always trying to show how someone else did something to edge her mom on instead of just saying, you know what, your mother too old to be acting like this. She needs to just stop. And so that's one of the signs of someone that's enmeshed in their child's life is when they don't see it. They don't see that they don't have any boundaries. And she really doesn't see it. And that's not an excuse for her, but that's for people to realize that when a person that's enmeshed like that and they don't recognize that they don't see the boundaries, you understand what's going on. And this is how you can help them. Later on, I saw how Marceau, him and Tisha at her daughter's birthday party picnic, how he did talk to her. And finally, they got it to Tisha's head that you really do need to talk to your mom. So they did talk to her. She kind of was making some excuses like she does, but then she finally said, well, what do you guys want me to do? And one of the reasons, several reasons why I thought Tisha needs to talk to her mom, because had she put her hands on Melanie, I know she would have pressed charges and her mother would have been in jail and she would have had uh, a felony, because I'm sure she would have pressed charges. She would have had a felony. Her mom's trying to open up a business, and that would have been something on her record. It may have prevented her from opening up a business. So that's one reason why she needs to step in, because her mother's just going too far and she could get arrested. Another thing is she's teaching Letitia, her grandkids, which is Letitia's kids, she's teaching them how to act. One reason she needs to do this is because the kids are watching. The kids are watching their grandmother. They're watching their grandmother and seeing how she acts. And so she really needs to pull that back because she's really teaching them the wrong way to have a relationship. Because children learn what they live. Children learn what they live, and they're seeing their grandmother out here just cutting up and clowning, and they think that's how they're supposed to be. And you'll see this enmeshment continue on in the next generation. One thing I do agree with Tisha, she says her mother doesn't listen to her, which means that it's challenging to try to enforce boundaries with this type of person. It's very challenging because sometimes they may feel betrayed if you say something to them, or they may get angry or feel like or take it as a personal attack. So I do understood why Letitia didn't want to say anything, but it had to be said because, like I said, when she started wanting to fight, then it just upped the ante, and it was just too much then. The reason I thought this was so important to mention is because a lot of us may have Wandas in our relationships, a person that oversteps boundaries, whether it is the in-laws, whether it is the bio parents, whether it is the aunt, uncle, cousin, or somebody. Sometimes you have people that overstep the boundaries, and you have to be able to address it. If not, it doesn't decrease. Their involvement doesn't decrease. It continues to escalate. And just like Wanda in this series, we see how she just kept on and she just kept on until finally she was just out of control. And everyone was talking about how out of control. There were people on the series saying, I didn't think grown women act like this. She's a mother, for God's sake. Why is she doing this? And so, besides Tisha, the embarrassment for Tisha, it was like, what is the message that you're sending? What is the message that you're sending as an adult? So, if you have a Wanda in your life, the thing that you have to do, maybe one of the hardest things that you're doing, is that you have to set boundaries. So let me know what you think about this series. Like I said, I fast forward, even though I was just at the end of three and the beginning of four. I wanted to kind of see what Wanda's going to be doing. And then it seemed like after she talked to Wanda, she seemed to calm down. She seemed to calm down and she wasn't as, rambunctious as she was and just outspoken. And so if you're watching the series, go ahead and give me a comment. I'm loving the comments that you're giving. I'm a YouTuber that I don't have a problem if our perspectives differ, because that gives, that helps the conversation be healthy, and that continues the conversation. So it's okay if we have difference of opinion. That's okay. Difference of a perspective, because that's what this channel is about. It's about us helping each other see it in a different light. And so go ahead and give me, your comment that you have. And I also want to encourage you I want to encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to this channel because, like I said, this channel is to help with positive family dynamics. And here's another video that's going to help you on your journey to connecting your family so you can have positive family relationships.